So in last week's video, I shared with you the images from my first roll of film, and throughout the week I got a lot of questions about the film stock and the editing of those photos, and so today I thought it'd be a great idea to go through my process in Lightroom and how I dealt with the scans. So in that video, my buddy Jackson and I headed to the beach and we documented one of the sunsets we had here a few weeks ago, and I shot the evening on my dad's Canon AV1, and this is probably my first experience shooting film here in Perth. And so yeah, the video was just more of a document of my process, whereas today is going to be more of the editing side of things. Being new to film, I'm not really sure if everyone does this, but out of habit, I just wanted to bring the photos into Lightroom once I got them back and just fix up the crop, because out of camera, like, my composition wasn't amazing. So that was like the idea of putting them into Lightroom. But once I was there, I started fiddling with a few of the sliders and started to make some minor adjustments that really took the photos to the next level. These minor adjustments, along with a few others, were part of the reason why I did end up loving these photos. If I didn't make any of these adjustments, the out-of-camera raws weren't that great. These minor adjustments were part of the reason I love the photos, so if we jump into Lightroom, I can show you what I'm talking about. All right, guys, so now that we're in Lightroom, I'm gonna run you through 3 images from the roll, and we're gonna start off with this photo of Jackson. So this is one of the first I captured, like I mentioned in last week's video, and Jackson was kind enough to capture some B-roll. So the way I was initially going to approach this image was to sort out the crop. So as we can see, there's a lot of headroom here. So we're going to sort that out by bringing in one of these aspect ratios and kind of centering Jackson in the frame. Here, there's far less headroom. Might even move him over a little bit. And given that these are JPEGs, I can't really be too crazy with the edits. So these are minor adjustments. The film's done a great job of bringing in the right colors for us. So this is just to touch it up. So I might bring up the exposure just a tad, nothing too wild. For an example, you can see that if I do bring up the shadows in a JPEG, that they just go a bit crazy and you can see a lot of noise. So we're gonna leave the shadows there. Might bring up the highlights a bit, brighten up the background. Again, don't really need to touch up too much in the basic here. I'm definitely gonna bring the clarity down because it is quite grainy. Vibrance again, I'm gonna push that, but as you can see, the skin's getting pretty yellowy. So if we scroll down here, I'm gonna sort that out pretty easily. So just gonna move the yellow sliders around. So the yellow slider is dealing with the background. It looks like the phone here. So the skin is definitely influenced here by the orange slider. So happy to bring that down here. To get rid of that background green, I'm gonna bring that yellow down and take the yellow out of the greens, I mean, because that's just looking a lot better with the iPhone not all a weird color. So I'll bring that down, and again, we can sharpen it up. I know it does kind of defeat the purpose, but I do kind of like a little bit. If you've seen some of my past editing videos, I do like to bring this up, but again, because these are JPEGs, I'm not gonna get too crazy with it, but yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with the look of this. If we look at the original, we've taken away that yellow greeny tint and we've kind of brought in more of a warm look. We can definitely up some saturation here. But again, guys, this is just like real basic adjustments for this image, especially because these are film images. And if we just kind of touch this up, there, I'm really happy with that. And you can kind of see if I show you the before and then I show you the after, we haven't done a wild amount except really treat the colors and that yellowy green, but like I usually like to look at all the sliders, but here you can see I haven't really touched all of them. So yeah, this photo of Jackson I'm much happier with now compared to when I got it out of the lab. And especially the crop was the biggest adjustment we had to make here. All right, so the second photo we're gonna go over is another one of Jackson. He was our subject for the evening. In this image, I did really brighten it up, and I wanted to kind of show you how I went about that. Again, we're gonna start off with the crop. So there's a lot of headroom here, so I'm gonna fix that up by bringing that right down. You can see in the background that the horizon's a little bit off, so I'm gonna just straighten that up a bit by clicking and dragging on the right-hand side here. I am, again, not always great at this, but my eyes try and do me a bit of justice there. One more adjustment. So here you can see the background's a little bit busy. So before we get on with any adjustments to color, I am gonna do a bit of spot removal. I do like to do this if I find that some parts of an image are distracting. I don't like to change my images too much, but especially like that isn't a major change to the image, but it just kind of makes it a bit more engaging. You're solely focused on Jackson here. So Press the O key again. I'm gonna cycle through the crop tools, just make sure Jackson's in the middle right there. And boom, good to go. All right, so again, I'm gonna start off by bringing up the exposure. It's a bit underexposed for my liking, so we're gonna do that. Again, I'm gonna drop the highlights a little bit because the sky looks really nice in this one. Shadows, bringing them up. That looks kind of cool. White, same deal. And I might drop the blacks a tad. Yeah, I think that looks kind of good. Moving down, we're gonna deal with some clarity again. I'm gonna take that grain away nicely. Next, favorite slider for this photo that I think is working great is the vibrance. So this is just gonna really show up those nice colors. I've pumped it up a lot, but again, can't get too overboard as this is a JPEG image. Given that Jackson's skin's in this as well, I'm gonna try and bump up the saturation. And like the last image, you can see that the skin has turned a bit yellow. So we're gonna do the same and sort that out and bring the sliders a bit towards the orange and again, drop the yellows down and see if that does anything nice. That's working great there. So again, just fixing up these little small adjustments, nothing too major. If we head back up to the tone curve, I'm just gonna pop that up a little bit. Drop the blacks or the shadows down. You can see his shorts kind of going nicely there. As you can see guys, I'm not doing a ton to this image to really change it. It's more like the colors and the skin tones I want to get back, as well as the little spot removal in this image. I'm not really going to handle much else down here, except we might sharpen it up like the last image just to keep it consistent. But to be honest, like nothing else with the transformations and the vignetting. So I'm really happy with this image. I know Jackson was when I sent it through to him. But yeah, this is how I handled this photo. Finally guys, the last image I want to run you through is this one. This is the thumbnail of this video and it is one of my favorites that I put up on my Instagram account. I just love the style of this photo. I really want to start doing more of this with some different lenses, like kind of seascapes and people in them. But instead of running over the edit that I did with you guys, I'm going to show you the preset that I used on this photo. So this is the original that this is the photo that I shared online, and then this is the original. And instead of kind of just breaking down everything I did, I'm just gonna show you what this preset does because I did use this preset on a few of the other images. So as you can see, exposure is up again. Here I did also deal with a bit of the contrast, but if I show you how the exposure looked before, it's still a bit flat. I really like it when it's a bit brighter. So we're gonna brighten that up, show off the sky, show off the water. And again, moving down. So highlights again, I've kind of dropped down because if they go any higher, the water in the foreground gets a bit too blown out. I realize it's not awesome right now, but with the highlights too high up, it just would look not that great. So I'm gonna bring them down. The shadows I really wanted to play with because it brought out some detail in the groin out there, as well as some of the subjects. Blacks are up, whites are down. That's pretty standard for my approach. And again, the clarity as well as the vibrance and saturation I pushed up. You can kind of see how without the clarity and the vibrance, this image does look a bit flat and not as poppy and engaging. So I'm gonna bring them back up and you can kind of see instantly how that's comparing. If we look at the original, there you go. Again, I'm just noticing right now that the horizon is a little bit off. So I'm gonna just straighten that up a bit. Moving on, very traditional S-curve. Didn't want to do a ton more. If we flatten this, you can kind of see what that does. It just creates a bit more separation between like subjects, water, and the sky. And I think it does a really great job. Again, moving down, if I turn off all my color adjustments, you can kind of see that yellowy green come back. So what this preset's done is kind of taken away the yellows and the greens and pushed them more towards the oranges and the reds. So that's the reason for that. Again, the saturation's done the exact same thing. So it's not really made a major difference compared to the hues, but you can kind of see how the skin tones of our subjects change when the saturation sliders are engaged. Again, I don't need to touch every part of this image, so the luminance hasn't been handled here. There was a minor bit of split toning. Again, I don't think this really matters. I don't notice a ton because it's at a very low rating. I'm gonna leave it on. It looks kind of nice, but it's not something I usually do all the time. As this is a preset, my sharpening has gone up, so I'm gonna bring that down just a tad. But overall, that's the edit for this image. The reason for a lot of the adjustments I made here was just to fix up the coloring, and because I knew this image had a lot of potential if I threw in some vibrance and saturation. And I think if I hadn't edited this photo, you would really notice a big difference. Like if I shared this image compared to sharing this image, you can really see a big difference in the quality. Editing the stock was a really enjoyable process, and I hope you enjoyed my little breakdown of these kind of edits in Lightroom. And that just about wraps up today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed watching my process and also learning how I dealt with these scans. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I am very new to film, so doing these adjustments are just kind of helping me get involved in it a bit better. If you have any suggestions, please leave comments for me below. I'm definitely learning, so any extra advice would be greatly appreciated. If you enjoyed this video and are enjoying watching me try learn this format, it would be great if you liked and commented. And if you did subscribe, I'm sure to be making more ones down the line. But otherwise, guys, I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next one.